Hey gang, I got an offer for you today from LinkedIn. As business-to-business marketers, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. On LinkedIn, you have direct access to build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives. 10 million are C-level executives. You will also be able to drive results with targeting and measuring with their tools built specifically for B2B. And best of all, they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads also rank number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of the Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit. It's a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. It's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's about the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. I'm Seth. I'm here with Sarah Panus of Kindred Speaks. It is a marketing communications company in just outside Minneapolis, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So Sarah is a 20-year survivor of the corporate world in corporate communications, right?
Yeah, always on the marketing communication side.
So what made you escape, or besides normal stuff?
Yeah, so the backstory of kind of what got me to today and being an entrepreneur after being in corporate so long is kind of
Yeah.
an interesting story because I'm the kind of person I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. It was never an aspiration of mine. That's why I
Oops.
lasted in the corporate side so long. And I was on the agency side too for a little bit of that. So small town girl, grew up in a small Minnesota town with always these big dreams and aspirations of moving out of small
Mm-hmm.
town, living in the big city, following the big dream. And so through when I was younger, and then when I went to college and I got my first job, I moved and I got my undergrad and in Minnesota, and then I moved to New York City and I went
Oh
to
wow, you
fashion
went.
school. So I went
Wow.
like all the way, right? So I went to
Yeah.
fashion school and because I wanted to do my undergrad was in PR, and so I wanted to work in the
Oh.
fashion PR realm. And I was like, well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go to New York and just do it. So while I was there, I got another degree at FIT, which is the Fashion
Ooh,
Institute of
yeah. That's a very
Technology.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I have a degree also in fashion merchandising management, and I paired those two. And when I was in New York for about 3 years, I worked as a communications manager for a wedding gown designer, a high-end
Ooh,
wedding
very
gown designer
fun.
there. Yeah, it was amazing. It was wonderful. It was following the dream, working in the
Mm-hmm.
fashion industry. It was great. And then I got burnt out on New York, and
Mm.
I was like, I can't imagine being here forever. And I was working in high-end bridal, so it started to feel
Oh.
superficial to me after a while with all
Mm.
the clients we were interacting with. So I was like, I want to do something else. I want to broaden. So then I moved from New York to Boston
Oh,
and
even
worked
even more
at
fun city.
yeah, Boston was amazing. So I worked for an integrated marketing agency there, and it was perfect because at that I just wanted like exposure to as much as I could possibly consume, which you
Yeah,
get on the agency side. So I was on the agency side for
absolutely.
like 3.5 years, worked with a tons of different clients, worked my way up the ladder, right from entry level. And when I left, I was like an account supervisor, and worked with a lot of like food and beverage clients. So
Oh,
Nestlé
CPG, yeah.
Waters, Perrier, yeah, CPG, Lindt Chocolate, ate a lot of
Ooh,
chocolate.
did they send you a lot of chocolate?
Yes, we get these huge
Oh,
baskets of chocolate. I don't know.
nice.
Thankfully, I was younger, so I just didn't gain the weight, but it was an amazing client to have. And some, nonprofit work with the American Heart Association, et cetera, right? Just lots of
Yeah.
different clients. I led all the media relations for Starbucks for the New England region of the
Oh,
country.
wow, you have
And
quite
so
the portfolio.
yeah, so it was just a lot of really fun things, great people to learn from, right? When you're earlier in your career. And then I met my husband when we were out there,
Dum dum
and
dum.
dum dum dum, my husband and I met. He's from New Jersey, right outside Manhattan.
And you got him to go back to Minnesota?
So this is funny, right? Yes. So he's actually the reason we came to Minnesota because he went.
What?
I know this is my parents love him because he brought me back home. So he went back to school for his PhD at the University of Minnesota in
Oh.
in biomedical engineering. So he's
Ooh.
totally uses the other side of the brain than I do. He's super smart
Yeah,
in science and math and all the things that I am not my strengths in. And
exactly.
anyway, so we met, I moved back to Minnesota, and when I moved back to Minnesota, that's when I started my long corporate journey. So I
Wow.
started at Sleep Number, and I actually
Oh,
spent
wow.
12 years working inside of Sleep Number in a few different
You
roles.
don't normally see people spending more than, like, a few years anywhere, especially in
Yes.
corporate America. You burn out one company, you jump to another one, you jump to another one.
Yeah.
It might be, not us millennials, it might be more Zs or young millennials that do that, but I know my wife spent 11 years at a company, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Who does that?" I mean, I did
It's kind
14
of
years here, but,
crazy.
you know.
I know it's crazy, but because I was able to do multiple roles throughout that time, I still
Mm.
felt like I was changing jobs just with a company that I loved. So I
Yeah.
started in PR and then I started the social function and led the social team for 9
Ooh.
years, which was amazing,
Wow.
going from like no budget to managing a $10 million budget with them and having a large team. We
That's
built a social
awesome.
command center internally. That was so fun. But then I had kids and I was like, I don't want to be working all the time. I'm not present for my
Mhm.
family. And that was becoming a really big issue for me because I was like on my phone
Absolutely.
all the time responding to people when I was working on the social team. So was able to transition to a new role, leading a new function and content marketing
Ooh,
strategy group,
that sounds
which
like fun.
essentially was brand storytelling and leading the editorial storytelling function, influencer marketing, being the editor in chief of their blog, etc. And so did that. And that was really like the nice stepping stone for what I do now. So
Yeah.
the transition of all that corporate work to now is that I had started my current Kindred Speak business as a side hustle idea
It's how you should do it.
originally, right?
Absolutely.
I was like, okay, so long in corporate. I started getting the itch for like, I don't want to stay with the same company forever. I really love working with them, but I want to work with other brands. So that was really the start. And I started
Mhm.
to try to think about, well, what should I do? So I had started this side hustle and was
Wow.
thinking, well, what do I do with this? Do I go all in? Should I just do it as a side hustle? And ended up having this is something I talk about called the power of the third choice, which is
Ooh.
I'll talk a little bit more. I can talk a little bit more. I'll get to my point of how I landed in my business, which was there's been so many times in my career, Seth, where I've put things in like a black and white bucket. It's this or
Mhm.
this. It's option A, it's option B. And what I realized so many times is there's always like this third choice that actually is the best of both worlds. And for me, the reason I hadn't always seen that third choice or went to that third choice right away, it was always myself. It was always like a limiting thought I had
Mhm.
about myself or about the people around me. Oh, they'll never go for that. So with the side hustle idea, I remember thinking, gosh, I was talking to like a wellness coach of mine at the time that I was working with, and I said to her, I'm like, I really want to do this, but I don't want to leave the company. I like both of what I do. And I said, so I thought, well, I'm either gonna have to quit or I'm gonna like do quit and
Mhm.
do this thing all full time.
Y
I was trying to figure it out. And she said, well, why don't you just do both?
Yeah, that's
And
what a lot of people do.
I know, right? But for me at the time, for whatever reason, I said, "Oh, they'll never go for that." I just thought in my
You
mind I
just
had
do
limited
it.
myself. Yeah. So, summarizing the story, talked to HR and everyone was fine. Yes, of course you can have a side hustle, right? My mind was like, "Really? I could totally do this."
Wow,
But
HR even signed
then
off on it. A lot of people don't even ask, they just do, and then
yeah.
it the hustle becomes the main thing, and they say, "Alright, peace."
Yeah.
You did it the nice way.
I wanted to make sure there was no like nothing in my employee contract that was like conflict of interest, like anything like
Yeah.
that. I didn't want any but I'm a good employee. Like I wanted to
Good
make
for
sure I
you.
wasn't burning any
Good for
bridges.
you. Yeah.
But anywho, so then COVID hit. And COVID actually presented the biggest blessing to me ever because I ended up getting furloughed for 90 days
Oh,
along with 40% of the entire company.
holy cow, no one was buying
For
beds?
it was just a huge well, it was it's a luxury item that if you
Oh,
don't
that's
have
true.
to
No,
buy it.
and no one actually knew that most people might actually buy that stuff. Like, I feel like COVID, we all assumed stuff, and then other things happened with COVID that we were like, "Wait, we didn't see that happen."
Yeah.
When people like with Pelotons, especially, like,
Mhm.
they are a luxury good, but everyone bought one because what the heck are they gonna do when they're in the house to exercise.
And people got really, really hyper focused on their wellness, right? Because
Mhm.
they were
I
scared about
didn't.
getting sick. That
I should
eventually
have.
happened, but initially the fear was, okay, we don't know what's gonna happen, and all
Mhm.
the stores had to close, so
Yeah,
people
it's
aren't coming into
terrible.
Sleep Number store. So there's all these things happening, right? So anything that was not an immediate, so like with me
Mhm.
and storytelling, it's a longer funnel of bringing people in, et cetera. And so me along with 40% of everyone was furloughed for 90 days. But what was
So you had a
beautiful about
90-day
it,
vacation essentially, unpaid vacation, but,
yeah.
vacation to figure out what you wanted to do with this.
Yes. And so what was beautiful is I said, "Okay, I'm gonna go all in on this side hustle. I'm gonna
Nice.
make it my thing. Let's like just do this." And so I was just like working like a crazy lady actually during that furlough. And then I had my kids home from school and it was just chaos if you remember like what it was
Oh,
like at the
I
beginning
have a
of COVID.
nine-year-old, it was chaos, yeah.
It was chaos, yeah.
We're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Hey there, it's Jason Falls. If your company or maybe one of your clients sells to marketers, you look for advertising channels that guarantee business marketers are paying attention, right? Let me introduce you to the Marketing Podcast Network. You're listening to it right now. It's a network of podcasts all about marketing. So 100% of MPN's audience are marketers. Reach them by advertising on the Marketing Podcast Network. Learn more and find our media kit at marketingpodcasts.net.
So it was such a blessing because then what I realized through that process was I want to do this full time. I don't want
Yeah.
this to be my side hustle. I actually really like working with a variety of different clients, and I know I
Mhm.
have a lot to offer. So it was cool in the fact that it gave me the courage and the push to do it full time quicker than I probably would have done it. So
It was a
now
blessing in disguise.
absolutely. So I have Kindred Speak, which is a brand storytelling strategy company. And what I do is there's a couple different ways people can work with me. I can do the work for you, or I can teach you how to do the work.
Ooh, so
And
teach them how to
so
fish or fish, like that.
yes, exactly. So corporations hire me. Sleep Number is still a client of mine
Oh,
now. So I've been
I love when they come back to come
absolutely. I
back.
never left them. Like after furlough, like I ended up just they hired me on. They were my first client. Actually, it was
Oh,
a
that's
really great
awesome.
story. So I've been working with them now for 14 years total. And so doing so brand storytelling strategy. I'm the editor in chief of their blog as an example. I help
Wow.
manage third party content partnerships like with Thrive Global and Katie Kirk Media. And
They probably like it because they don't have to pay your benefits.
yeah,
They're
and
like,
it's
"You're a little
continuity.
cheaper now.
What an
Yay!"
amazing yeah, what an amazing partnership though, right? For me, it was
Yeah.
just such a blessing too to your first
And
client
you
you know
did it
so well.
right, and you did it right because you went to HR first, and they're like, you did put if you did it the other way, they might not become your first client.
Exactly.
That's
So
awesome.
that's one way companies can hire me to help with like developing brand storytelling strategies
Yeah,
and plans and ideation or
that's
managing
awesome.
partnerships or their blog. The other way, like I mentioned, is I have a couple of online courses
Oh,
where
wow.
because I was on the corporate side for so long, I know what it feels like to be on the inside and just wish you had more mentorship or people to learn from, or you
Mhm,
want to level up your skills, right? And you don't always have the opportunity to go to conferences or have a mentor or
mhm.
coach come in. So I was like, I want to create these online courses where I teach communication professionals, content marketers, how to do this stuff themselves. How do you think like an
That's
editorial
awesome.
director for your brand? So I have like a mini course and then I also have like a longer 3-month like group
Oh,
training program I
wow.
can do.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. So I got a question for you, because you had the structure, you had the whole safety net of corporate. And now you don't necessarily you have some kind of safety net because of your clients, but what was I guess we talked about what the best thing about being an entrepreneur is that you have time for your family. You're not on the phone all the time. What
Mhm.
is the scariest thing now? I mean, now that you're out in the woods doing your own thing.
Definitely. I think honestly, I think the thing that has surprised me the most about being an entrepreneur is not the hard work that it takes to run your own company. I was prepared for that fully.
Yeah.
The scariest thing for me, just as I've been navigating through it, has been just how much you have to like the internal reflection that you do on a
Mhm.
daily basis about yourself. It's been super interesting to me because it's been very much like I akin it to like going to therapy and talking with a
Yeah.
therapist almost because every and like you run your own company, like
Yeah.
it's like every decision's on you, everything.
Yes.
And so all any preconceived thoughts, mindset things that you've had about
Mhm.
yourself that maybe you didn't even realize come to life as you're going through. So
Oh,
that's been
wow.
super,
Yeah.
super powerful and really,
Yeah.
really amazing. And of course the obvious scary is just not like a guaranteed paycheck. right?
Yeah,
That's
it's kinda
the
freaky,
biggest
yeah.
thing. And like with me, I'm a mom of kids. My husband and I, it was a big decision. Like we wanted to make sure I was providing more for the family, not less.
Yeah.
And so that was a
Mhm.
huge decision of why I wanted to step back, was really family first decision of,
That's awesome, yeah.
one, I want to use my skills, but two, I don't want to be working all the time and I want the flexibility for my family, which I definitely have now.
That's awesome. So what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
Most important thing
I
I
love how
carry with me.
this gets
Okay,
everyone.
so I'm sure everyone interprets this a little differently,
Mhm.
right? Um, I would say I would say like for me, it's some mantras that I think of would be
Oh,
the most
good.
important thing that keep me going. One is always family first. That's always like a just non-negotiable for me. So I revolve everything to make sure that that
Mhm.
doesn't change, and then I'm providing for my family and my kids. Um, and then I would say there's probably two sayings, Seth, that actually
Mhm.
I will always stay with me wherever I go. One is I tell myself regularly, don't compare your beginning to someone else's end. That's
Mhm.
huge
That's
because
very
it's
big,
really
yeah.
easy as an entrepreneur to look at everyone else's like bells and whistles and success and be like, oh, they're all doing better than me, or why can't I get it to that yet, and be frustrated you're not at that level yet, right?
Mhm.
I'm a newer entrepreneur, so I've just been in this almost 2 years of running my own
Mhm.
business, and so that's a saying for sure. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's end or someone else's middle, even.
Yeah. Or even their
And then
beginning. Because you can't compare beginnings either. You just
this is
can't.
true. Yeah, you're right. Everyone has a yes. There's so much that you don't see about people that
Mhm.
you just have no idea what's going on behind their social feed, right? And then I would say honestly my faith is something that always stays with me. I'm a very faith-based person,
That's
and I
awesome.
also always am telling myself, if God is for me, then no one can be against me. Like
There
I
you
it
go.
just
That's the
gives me
mentality.
confidence and courage and resilience to just chug forward.
Just keep going. Keep
Just
going.
keep going.
So, Sarah, where can people find you online?
Absolutely. Well, I have my own podcast as well, and it's called
Yeah.
Marketing with Empathy. So,
On the NPN network
on
with
the
Jason
NPN
Falls.
network.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, definitely subscribe and find me on Marketing with Empathy. I talk a lot about brand storytelling strategies as well as
That's
like
great. Yeah.
internal things we need to do to be better leaders and better professionals. So there, and then I'm mainly on LinkedIn. So you can find me at Sarah Panus on LinkedIn, and check out my website at kindredspeak.com.
Sarah, this has been so much fun.
Thank you.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast trusted of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Sarah Panus hosts a great podcast called Marketing with Empathy. Sarah, tell us what these fine folks will get when they listen.
Marketing with Empathy is a weekly podcast, and it's designed for brand content marketers who want to connect with their audiences through storytelling and are looking for help to do it better. Plus, like enjoy that recognition, growth, and just joy that comes from creating great work.
Awesome. Where can people subscribe?
Yeah, head on over to marketingpodcast.net and you will see the Marketing with Empathy show there. Otherwise, wherever you listen to podcasts, you'll find Marketing with Empathy.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.